This episode is brought to you by Vinitaly International Academy, the toughest Italian wine program. 1,000 candidates have produced 262 Italian wine ambassadors to date. Next courses in Hong Kong, Russia, New York, and Verona. Think you make the cut? Apply now at vinitalyinternational.com.
Welcome to this special Italian wine podcast broadcast. This episode is a recording off Clubhouse, the popular drop-in audio chat. This Clubhouse session was taken from the Wine Business Club and Italian Wine Club. Listen in as wine lovers and experts alike engage in some great conversation on a range of topics in wine. If you enjoy listening, please consider donating through ItalianWinepodcast.com. Any amount helps cover equipment, production, and publication costs. And remember to subscribe and rate our show wherever you tune in.
Hello everybody, my name's Stevie Kim and this is the Italian Wine Club on Clubhouse, and today we are here with Diego Corradi and Rob Mella. I'm so excited about this session today. I just wanted to say something. First of all, this is called the Ambassador's Corner because this is where the ambassadors, Italian wine ambassadors, get a chance to interview their favorite producer. Today, for example, Rob Miller with Diego Corradi from Pra. I just wanted to give a shout out to our VIA community at large because we've started the Ambassador's Corner. First of all, I started this Italian Wine Club in February, so not too long ago. And then in July, we started to do the Ambassador's Corner, mostly because I wanted to give more time, I guess I always have this kind of romantic idea of, being the matchmaker, bridging the gap between Italian wine producers and the rest of the world. So I thought, why not have it represented by the Italian wine ambassadors at large? Hello, everybody. My name is Stevie Kim, and this is Cynthia Chaplin, one of our own, interviewing Alberto Tasca. And now we are at the 27th episode of the Ambassador's Corner. So kudos to every single one of you who has participated as the interviewee and as well as all the producers. In fact, thanks to you guys, Italian Wine Podcast, as you know, this gets replayed. Although there are just few of us here today, it gets replayed on the Italian Wine Podcast. And it's been hugely successful. So successful that last year, first of all, if I can give you some context, in 2017, we've started the Italian Wine Podcast, of course, with Monty Walden, and we had 23,000 listens in the entire year. And last year, fast forward, 4 years, and we reached more than 1 million listens just on SoundCloud. So this is really, really because everybody has been very incredibly supportive. And in fact, the top 10 listens for last year was it was another Clubhouse session I did for the Japan wine market, but with one of our ambassadors, Roddy Rotner from Japan. And then the second most listened was Jill Gordon-Smith with Rocco Toscani. And then Cynthia Chaplin, number 5, with Ilaria Takis. Number 6, again, another ambassador, Gianluca Queroli, Stefano Chiarlo. Number 7, Jody Hellman with Enrico Della Piana. And then one of our ambassadors on The Voices, Rebecca Lawrence, interviewed Victoria Cece. So she's also known as, I love her handle, Slutty Spaghetti. I love that. She has a sense of humor. Anyway, so I just wanted to give a shout out to the VIA community because it really is a journey, and I really appreciate that everyone has contributed in their way. Okay, so I'll shut up now. Let's start this. I'd like to introduce Rob Miller. Ciao, Rob.
Ciao, Stevie. It's good.
Where
to hear
are
your
you
voice.
now? Where are you?
I'm still the same part of the world, just outside of Toronto in Canada, and Kitchener-Waterloo is the town.
Is it freezing?
It's a balmy minus 12 degrees right now. It's the warmest it's been here in a few weeks. So
Did you say minus 20?
Minus 12. But
is that Celsius?
20. That's Celsius, correct.
Holy crap! That's like Russia. That's like
We're
Siberia.
is that you'll have to maybe bring Via over here in a summer month perhaps because
Yeah,
it's
maybe.
cold here it's cold here in the winter.
So, Rob, it says here that you've been working over 25 years in the beverage industry. That makes you sound really old.
Yeah, and I have to agree with that. I'm I'm a lot older than I act. How's
Okay.
that?
So, of course, you were one of the top sommeliers, and I still remember when you were acclimated as the Vinitaly International Academy. You passed the exam, and you nearly killed me
I
because you.
think I think we had a little private dance on stage.
I, I will always forever remember Rob Miller. So, now what are you up to now?
Doing a number of things. I'm teaching at the local college. I'm working with a wine importer still, a company called the
What are
Wine
you
Agency.
teaching?
Wine and food pairing. It's four separate courses, just 2 days a week. So it's a lot of fun. It's very exciting. It's very interesting to engage with younger wine drinkers or people as they're just starting into wine. I know myself at that age, I definitely wasn't consuming wine. It wasn't my beverage of choice. So it's great to be able to show them what potential there is and bring them over to our side of the beverage industry.
But how old are they? Are they college students?
College students, yes. So 19, 20. In fact, we do have a few students that are only 18, so not even old enough to drink here in Ontario, but they still participate and they're still quite eager to learn. Most of them are culinary students, so they've got an interest and enthusiasm for the hospitality and restaurant industry.
So you work for the Vine Agency, which is an importer and a distributor, right? What kind of wines do you import?
Correct. We work with, we work with about 70 wineries around the world, primarily focused on California, France, and Italy. In fact, Italy makes up about just probably over a third of our portfolio, which is super exciting. In fact, it's what inspired me to head over and take the VIA program way back
So what?
in
Give me
2016.
some of the wineries from Italy you
From
import.
Italy, we work with Verna in Barolo. We work with Vita Romans as an example. We work with Pra with Diego and Graziano. We
Aha.
work with Paul. Going further south, Roccafiore in Umbria. We work with let's see, Bisci in Verdicchio, Palmento Costanza. You guys, I know we visited there on the
Oh
Gita
my God,
Scholastic
what a
tour.
beautiful, beautiful estate.
It's a gorgeous place. We're super super lucky to work with them. The wines are incredible as well.
Yes, absolutely. We love that. We love that place. And what about this new agency? It's something of your own. It's a new initiative.
It
Road
is.
Wine Imports. What is that all about?
So the road is my business partner Megan Ridgway and I just started that. One of the there have been some silver linings since the pandemic began here in Ontario, and some of it has been some loosening around the rules to importing wines. Part of the we do work under the LCBO, and the AGCO, or the government imposed retail distribution that all wines come into the province through. So before that, it was fairly prohibitive for new importers to start, but they've made it a little bit easier for us to do so. So we're looking at and working with wineries under kind of two main umbrellas. The first is wineries that are very eco-conscious, organics plus, whether that's biodynamic, whether that's regeneratively farmed producers. We're also looking at working with, and bringing some diversity into our industry. You had mentioned it earlier. Our industry has a lot of old white guys like myself. The majority of our wineries that we're working with are either female owned. We have a couple of LGBTQ producers. We're currently working with the only Native American owned winery that actually has a member of their tribe that makes the wines. We're working with a Japanese couple that's farming biodynamically in New Zealand, trying to bring a little bit more diversity to the spectrum.
Okay, great. And by the way, I just want to plug Rob Miller's interview. He was interviewed by Cynthia Chaplin recently, and that's a recent episode. So check that out if you guys get a chance. So let's move on to today's call. So, Robert, we always ask why. Now I realize, of course, you import PRA, but why did you select Diego Corradi as your favorite producer?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it wasn't my first Italian focused or post Italian wine focused trip, but the one leading right up to my time at Via, or my first time at Via, I had stopped in at Prod just a couple of days before, and Diego had set it up for me. We had there had been a bit of a miscommunication, and I had showed up on a Sunday, which was the wrong day, which was fine. Graziano was super gracious. Unfortunately, his English is as good as my Italian, so it was a lot of head nodding at the time. But Diego's partner in crime at the winery, Valentino, was able to come by, and we had just such a lovely time. And I'd always been a fan of Pra. Since that time, Diego and I have spent a number of times together, whether it's in Verona, whether it was out in Alba, as well as when he's been able to visit us here in Toronto. So not only do I like the wines and love the wines, but I consider Diego a friend as well. So I thought it'd be great to chat with him and to catch up and see what he's been up to over the last couple of years.
Great. I'm looking forward to the conversation. And so what should we expect in terms of learning objectives from your call today with Diego today? Because, we
Well,
like to get a little geeky here at VIA, right?
of course we do. So I'm hoping that people that aren't familiar with the winery, and as I do believe many will be, it is however on the kind of smaller side of the production spectrum, yet incredibly high quality. So I'm hoping that people can learn a little bit about who they are and what they do. And also just be introduced to the fact that they're making some stunning red wines as well. So I think that'll be a key part of the conversation, as well as some of the new projects they're working on.
Okay, so it works like this. I usually now shut up, which is, I know, amazing. Hard to believe, but I'm going to now give the floor to you. And so you take it away, and I'll come back later if there's time for Q&A in the end. Okay? Ciao, ciao ragazzi.
Thanks, Stevie. That was great. Awesome. Thank you. Well, welcome everyone. Thanks for those that did tune in. I know we're at different time zones around the world. It's kind of middle of the day here. I'm just outside of Toronto in Canada, as I said. And it's far enough into the day that I thought, I'm going to pour myself a glass of wine to go alongside the rest of the afternoon. So thank you for joining us, and I look forward to chatting with, for those of you that haven't met Diego before. Diego is the export manager of Azienda Agricola Graziano Pra. You've probably seen him if you've been to, you have attended Vinitaly. If you've been to Opera Wine, they are a mainstay there as well. And Diego's always there, brightly smiling and introducing and pouring the fantastic wines that he represents. So welcome, Diego. It's great to hear your voice again.
Ciao, Rob. Ciao. Thank you for the invitation.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for accepting the invitation. That would have been worse had you said no. So
It's okay. It's 8 p.m. I'm quite hungry, but it's okay. I can wait.
well, you usually don't eat dinner until 9 or 10 o'clock over there anyways,
No,
right? So
I
you should
mean,
be.
yeah. Let's put it like no, that's fine. Yeah. Of
No,
course, it's great to talk to you. Finally, it's been a while, so no, definitely. Thank you for having me.
yeah, and I hope that we get to catch up in person sooner than later this year. But we'll see how
Definitely,
things
definitely.
play out. So you joined Graziano Pro right out of university. You spent a year in Australia after that, and then came back. Did you have aspirations to work in the wine industry while you were in school, or what was wine? What part of your life was that growing up?
Okay, well, let's say first of all, I grew up in Stallavena, which is a small town in Valpantena. So I'm originally from Verona. My family is from here, and Valpantena is just next to Valpolicella. So let's say that in my small town, the main business was more marble industries. But yeah, let's say I was close also to Bertani, and of course in the middle of the wine culture. Moreover, then I actually my studies were more about classic studies in the high school, and then languages and commerce. I got a degree, and as you said, I spent a year in Australia. So at that time, honestly, I didn't really know yet what to do, and it was not really the economy. I'm talking about 2009, 2010 was not as good. And of course, one of the things that was really I really wanted to do is like an experience abroad. So I spent a year in Australia working in restaurants, backpacking, mostly working in Sydney, and then moving to Perth on the other side. So I stayed there for a few months. I had more, at that time, I was Australia was really expensive, still is actually. So I had the chance also to travel a bit, and I traveled also I remember really very well my travel to Margaret River in the southern part of West Australia. So and in that occasion, I visited actually Lewin Estate. So I was not really into wine at the time. So it was actually amazing. Actually, I still, to I remember driving in the forest, and then right after the forest, the vineyard started and the beautiful winery. So when I came back, I was definitely I started really to search and to look for a job in the wine industry. And let's say that I basically I started. I mean, sending just a CV. I went to the Vinitaly website and I took just the names of some wineries. So, and I started to send like CVs, starting of course from my area to Soave. And yeah, I did some interviews. I met some people, but it was 2011, so it's a while ago. And I got lucky that at that time a German girl called me. So I did an interview at Graziano because at the Proud Winery, because at that time actually there was a German girl working there, and she was the one actually taking care about almost everything at the winery, talking about office stuff, invoice, customers, and I realized that I said okay, I'm gonna start, and I'm looking forward, and I realized after 1 month that she was leaving within 2 months. So everything was new to me. It was actually my uh, first really job here in Italy, proper job, and and since there basically I've never left. Graziano really after 1 month I was in China for the first tour of the Tre Bicchieri, and and it's been already 11 years almost. So yeah, long time, and so let's say that it was a matter of also luck. Uh, but at the same time, I had the chance in 10 years also to experience a little bit of everything that is happening, that is going on at a family-run company, from the administration, also since things going on in the vineyards, in the cellar. So that definitely helped also to build my background. Okay. So I definitely owe a lot to Graziano that also gave me the chance, to study. I mean.
Yeah, and having that opportunity to work with someone as respected as him is, I mean, that's just that's such a fantastic door opening for you, especially coming coming into the industry and coming right out of college, and the fact that you're still here or you're still with them, going into 11 years later says quite a bit. So your role is export manager, but I know you wear a lot more hats than that. What else, what would a normal week look like for you?
It's a really dynamic job. Really, the first month after this girl left, it was I was freaking out because really I was sending samples, making transport documents, invoices, talking to all our customers because still at that time, we were exporting 85% of the production, so dealing with 20 to 30 markets, and today are 45. But over the years, then of course we hired more people. Now we are in 4 people in the office, so there's someone taking care of the administration, just invoicing, documents, someone taking care of the social communication, welcome people at the winery. And so today, let's say that my colleague Valentina, take care of our customers, so extra European markets. So that's why I say it's easier to say export manager, let's say. And this take let's say 50% of my time. The rest is I work really side by side on a side of with Graziano every day. So if we investments, if we have to buy new machineries, if we have to buy some new vineyards, hiring people, suppliers. So it's kind of supervision of the office and general export manager, I would say. But it's really I do 50 different things at the office every day. So it's very hard to say. I plan bottlings. So this is what I'm doing this period. 2022 started like crazy, of course, because we also had our COVID issues. And now we have this, supplying issues, logistic issues, and we are starting. And actually, the markets are starting as well. So in the very start, January looked a little bit slow, but now everything is, it's starting at the same time. So what I do is basically in these days is talking to our customers and managing also especially with supplies, the previous bottlings of the new vintages coming.
Oh, great! That's exciting. Yes, it's somewhat similar here in Ontario. In fact, we're still in the midst of a moderate lockdown. Restaurants have been closed for the month, but are finally reopening on Monday. So yeah, it's a
Great.
slow start to the month, but it's a promising outlook to hopefully the spring and onwards. We'll see. It's so hard to predict more than a month out these days.
Yeah,
the world changing as it is. But and I guess maybe we should back up a little bit and talk a little bit about the winery now. Graziano started the winery back in the 1980s, and the family was growing for a while. Both his father and grandfather were involved, if I'm correct.
His father, grandfather, and the previous generation were more involved in the grapes growing. So let's say that the pra is a very, first of all, pra is in our dialect, means, in Italian is like prato, is a dialect word. We say pra. It's like, it means like a garden field. So it's a family probably also involved in agriculture for generations. And especially in the town, is very popular in the town of Monteforte d'Alpone. So we are in the heart of the Soave area, next to the Classico hills. The previous generation used to farm vineyards, like most of the families still do today. But in the 60s, in the 70s, that was the main business in the area. Consider that the family, Graziano is the third brother, and like a family used to sustain itself at the time with, let's say, 2-3 hectares, that could pay the bills. And so, his grandfather, they used to sell grapes, Garganega, especially mainly to bottling companies. So consider, in Soave, let's say that the last century, especially till the 80s, was mostly about cooperatives and bottling companies. And he's the two brother of Graziano, since the father unfortunately passed away when Graziano was very young, were already involved in the grape growing. So Graziano decided to make the next step and start studying enology in Conegliano. That was like the most important school of enologists in Treviso at that time. And that was in the 70s. Right after school, he decided, to start making his own wine, and that was also because of a necessity at that time. And in 1983, precisely, is the first bottle of Soave that he made. So he started from the family vineyards with his brother Sergio in the very start, taking care of the vineyards, and he was taking care of the wine. And the 80s is a very interesting period, I think, in Italy, I will say, because at that time, we had during the 80s also the methanol scandal. At that time, some producers start focusing really on the quality of the wines. At that time, the high quality wine was just French wine in the 80s. Graziano, he says, that he didn't realize he was part also of a new generation of winemakers. He at the time, Veronelli was the only wine guide, the only important, let's say, wine guide, the first to start giving ratings. And but at the same time, also Slow Food was starting, and Graziano was part of this group of Slow Food that were meeting in restaurants, talking about food quality. People was starting to have the necessity also to start focusing on the quality of what they were drinking and eating. And from here, actually, let's say that the three words also from Slow Food that are part still today of our philosophy, that are the beauty, the right, and the clean. So food, like wine, to be of course clean, so sustainable, right. So of course that you also have to take care of the people that are involved at the company, and the beauty, because beauty is also one of our main part of our philosophy. Is the beauty of the place where you work, the beauty, of course, the beauty of the wine. I mean, the wine has to be good also, and also taking care of the vineyards, but also of the area that where you work. And this is something that Graziano. I mean, you came to the winery, you see how Graziano, he spent the whole day, especially springtime, summertime. I mean, taking care of flowers. We plant trees. We try, always to be in a very, let's say, beautiful environment.
Mhm.
So from there on, Graziano, that started his story. I mean, with the Soave, starting from the hills of Soave, so the Classico region, and focusing especially on the local varietal, Garganega and Trebbiano di Soave. But let's say that we make 4 Soaves today, and the main part of actually 3 of them are 100% Garganega. And this is where Graziano, of course, was focusing on since the very beginning, going the hills, decreasing the yield of production, because Garganega can be also a very generous varietal. If you farm Garganega in the flat land on a rich soil, can really give also quite big amount. So on the hills in the Classico, on a volcanic, a little bit poorer soil, the production is much less, but the quality and the potential is much greater.
Very much so, and I think it's only the Monte Grande where you include a little bit of Trebbiano di Soave, and if I'm correct, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Trebbiano di Soave is the second local varietal, and it's very traditional. I mean, the Soave traditionally there was only like a small percentage of Trebbiano di Soave, which is the same DNA as you know of Verdicchio. Actually, we don't know if we brought Verdicchio to market, or maybe they brought it here. But traditionally, in the old times, farmers also used to put some Verdicchio, Trebbiano di Soave vines, where maybe a Garganega vine was dying, and they were substituting the vine with the with the Trebbiano di Soave. So it was actually a little bit mixed in the vineyards. So you always had like in the old times, so there was also sometimes this blend. Graziano planted the Trebbiano di Soave, especially on the hill of Monte Grande, which is one of the oldest vineyards from the family. And 1 hectare of Trebbiano di Soave that we use, and is of course, the base of our single vineyard, Monte Grande, that we started to make in 1980s and 1988 precisely.
Okay. Now you're mainly known as a white wine producing winery, but you make some absolutely incredible, and I'm definitely biased, but I think one of the best just straight Valpolicellas there is, as well as your Rapassa and your Amarone del Valpolicella. When was the move into red wine making, and what was the impetus to that?
Yeah, that was something that came after, of course. So one of, Graziano was like, we are talking about, the 90s, end of the 90s, when Graziano, one of the dreams of Graziano was also to study to make an Amarone. But he wanted to find also the land and that could better express his style of Amarone. You know that our whites and our Soaves are always very on the fresher expression of the varietal. We don't do a lot of, skin contacts or malolactic on the Garganega. We are always very, also the elegance is probably, something that you can always find in our whites. So that explains also something of Graziano's taste. He wanted to approach Valpolicella, but to find also a land that could express his idea of Valpolicella. In the 90s, the trend was generally to make, very large Amarones, very big wines. That Graziano was not really into that. So he had the chance to buy in 2001 this land called Morandina, that is basically, Valpolicella. He found this land in the eastern part of Valpolicella, so not in the Classico. So the eastern part of Valpolicella, Val di Lasi precisely, is more a land of, in the 90s was like the newer Valpolicella, land of, new producer that were growing at that time, and on Guyot training system, concentration. But when he found this land, he found it on the highest elevation, on 500 meters above the sea level. So let's say the eastern part of Valpolicella, Val di Lasi especially, is colder than the Classico, and we are on the limit, let's say, of, I will say, there for the grape growing on 500 meters. And he planted there on a virgin soil with a really big part of limestone. Is basically all the area is on limestone soil. He planted the traditional varietal, Corvina, Corvinone, Rondinella, and Oseleta. And 2006 is basically the first vintage of our reds that, as you can see, our reds really focus not only on the fruit, but also on the other, the other characteristic of our varietals, Corvina and Corvinone, which is the pepper, the spice, that are also very typical from our varietal. And at this altitude, in this area, are even more probably emphasized. So He started with a style of Valpolicella that I would say were totally out of the trend. So I'm talking about wines in a very dry style, lighter bodied, with a lot of, very clean, a lot of finesse, but very spicy sometimes, a little bit green, with more than, cherry is the typical fruit of Valpolicella. When you taste our Valpolicella, especially, which is, I think the one who, the fresher expression of the place is, pepper and spice, very spicy, sour cherry, red fruit. So sometimes even very far in that direction, and in the previous vintages, honestly, was really tough to sell, that style of reds, because everyone was used to more, more like fruity, rounder wines, but Graziano at the same time really wanted to, he says that if he wanted to start, in Valpolicella, at least he wanted to give also a terroir expression. So let's say that these wines really carry a definite really terroir expression and identity, I would say.
I think that's a great descriptor, and it's amazing how ahead of his time he was with that. As those are the wines that are in fashion, that are in vogue right now, the lighter, fresher, more savory red wines. That even now, when I pour the Valpolicella around, or when people experience it for the first time, they're pleasantly surprised by what a fresh, vibrant, energetic wine this is, and it's such an amazing, lovely young wine to drink. So, of course, we've had two fairly challenging years behind us. There seems to be some light at the end of the tunnel, hopefully. But what have been some of the biggest impacts on the winery in terms of sales, external sales? You had mentioned earlier that you're exporting about 85%. So I know there's been obvious supply chain issues, and of course, tourism as well. Agro-tourism, I know, makes up a big part of it too. So what have been some of the biggest challenges you've had to face, and how have you overcome them?
So, well, let's say 2020 and 21 were, let's say, quite different for us. Of course, 2020, when everything started, was crazy, like, as for everyone, that we work as we do with all our, today we work in 45 markets, I would say, and all our importers are, for the 95% are, they are importer and distributor, and we work with restaurants and wine boutique or shops, but not with the large chains. So the only exception are the monopolies. So like north of Europe, and of course Canadian monopolies as well. So that actually helped, let's say, in terms of sales. I mean, because of course the monopoly shops never stopped, so they increased the sales there. On the other side, of course, but let's say that we had a different moment during 2020. We really, during the summer, we went much better. And then, let's say, in the end of the year, we could barely pair the 2019. That was a great result, honestly. Of course, well, tourism, I mean, we are in Monteforte d'Alpone. Monteforte d'Alpone is not really a touristic place. I mean, it's you go to Monteforte d'Alpone if you want to visit the winery, so you need to know the winery, you have to go there. So that definitely was affected, tourism at the winery. But still, I mean, it's just maybe a small part of our business. Still today is affected. I mean, we were planning, to also to open an agriturismo or to do, something more and in our vineyards, but that is something or plans that we are skipping. So let's say that 2020 was more a period like everyone, where we had the time, to stop and think. about what we were doing. So it was a stop that helped us also to plan, I think, our the future somehow in terms of working the vineyards, especially where we also started over the organic certification that we are already organic certified, also a program with biodiversity. That is something that is still going on in our vineyards. And so, yeah, that was, let's say, 2020. 2021, I have to say that in February, everything restarted. And it was, in terms of sales, it was like the greatest year ever, let's say, fortunately. And also some very interesting new trends, I would say. So I think something new that is starting, and something that we actually are investing on is, for example, we are making stock for Soave each vintage of our cruise, and we are starting seriously to make a business of selling verticals of Soave. That is something that I think is going to be very interesting for the future of the denomination over the UAG, of course, and the new crew system.
Oh, that's very interesting. And are you doing this right across? I mean, I always think of the entry level, the Auto Suave, as being a more consume in the first 3 to 5 years, but the Monte Grande almost demands 5+ years. The you can make that similar argument for the Staforte as well if you can hold it that long. Are you looking to do this these verticals with in particular with particular crews, or right across the board?
Well, honestly, all our wines have really, all the Suaves we are making, really we taste after years. Of course, we have to make a decision, and Monte one the most representative probably of our Suaves. So we started making in 2014, especially. I mean, we have old libraries going back to the 90s, but if we want to, to start selling these wines, we started to build stock from 2014, which actually is is one of the greatest vintages actually to taste right now. And I think for the future, just because it was a very interesting vintage, in an extreme vintage, but very interesting also for the future. So Monte Grande, definitely. Colle San Antonio, we are also doing stock, especially for Mags. So we do like Magnum. But what we would like to show is actually just the Otto. So, for example, also during the next Opera Wine, we're going to show not really a single vineyard days, but our Otto 2014 screw cap, Stelvin Lux, what we use, and you really definitely see there the aging potential of Garganega, which is when it is made, the one is made properly, is amazing.
Oh, that's very interesting. And again, my experience with Auto is it's usually something I've consumed in its youth. I haven't been exposed to many older ones, so I look forward to trying those. And just on a side question, when did you switch Auto over to Stelvin or screw cap enclosures from cork?
So the first vintage was 2009. So Graziano was really into that. The thing is that on a side, as I think most of the wineries, we have been fighting, against the cork issues for for all the history, all our history, let's say. So from time to time, you have some lot or some problem with some cork, some natural cork. So Graziano started with a small amount with the screw cap. So where we started, actually, we of course he selected like the screw cap that could better fit, and the best screw cap that he found. But the 2009 was the first vintage. We still have a 2010 Otto in our library, and that was the one that actually changed really, our mind a few years after, just tasting and retasting Otto with the Stelvin screw cap and Otto with cork. Put on aside, really, we did in 2018 was the year when we decided we were really gonna take the direction of the screw cap. We studied also, to bottle Staforte Montegande with the screw cap, and because when we see that actually the auto was the aging was just consistent in all the bottles, and all the bottles are still today 2010 auto showing great. So on the other side, I have to say that generally the cork issues that we are having, especially in these past years, are more and more just because probably the general quality of cork is less and less.
Less and less you're finding, so it's not. I would have thought to have heard you say that you're finding less problems with cork as opposed to less resistance to it.
Honestly, we are really willing, to pay as much as, for cork, just because we put so much effort in, to make the wine that then the cork, and we make wine that we want to age and, to taste after. That has to be tasted from California to Japan, and of course the wine have to travel, and at the same time has to be tasted within 5, 10, 15, maybe 20 years. So we are still, by the way, using cork, but honestly, we also, some past vintages, we had some issues, not really cork taint, sometimes it's just oxidation, that we take 10 bottles, and one is perfect, one is I'm talking about maybe 15 years old bottles, one is perfect, one is good, the other one is, I don't know, not, I mean, oxidized, and it's always a challenge. So we will still bring for the higher Soave, but the decision for the next year is, by the way, to battle 100% auto with the screw cap, and probably Staforte will follow.
Interesting. So we had mentioned a few times. So you are farming organically, and it's only been, so the reds have been certified organic for a while. It's just recent that the white vineyards have been certified, if I'm correct.
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct, and this is because I can tell you, because I one of my, let's say, one of the things I do at the winery is also taking care of the organic certification. So Morandina, which is our crew in Valpolicella, as you know, so is the area where we own there 8 hectares, organic certified since the very beginning. So it was a virgin land. We plant the vineyards, and that soil never saw any chemical. No neighbors, easy, top of 500 meters, so no problem with fungus. Very easy to do that. With Soave, we were already practicing organic, so avoiding herbicides, pesticides. The problem in Soave is that it's impossible to own vineyards without neighbors, and especially the classic area of Soave. You own parcels, but maybe you own some large parcels, but it's more spread. So it took more time for bureaucratic reason to start the conversion, the official conversion. Just because with the neighbors we had some issues, because still today, I mean, the most of the neighbors are not organic certified. So the let's say that the solution we found is basically to declassify part of the production of Garganega, the part just next to our neighbors. So in that way, we could solve the problem, because once you take the decision to certify the Garganega, all the Garganega that you make has to be, by the way, farmed organically. You cannot, take something off. So that's why we studied a little bit later. Our vineyards are certified officially since 2019, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, I thought it was just in the last couple of years that you had the official certification. What is in that part of the world in Suave? What are some of the biggest areas of concern in terms of organic farming practices? Like what have been some of the challenges you've experienced? What have been things that you expected, and perhaps some challenges that showed up that you weren't expecting at all?
So the challenges are, well, first of all, that the production, I mean, you have to be really, really good in farming. You need a professional. You need, and today the agronomy today is an agronomy that you have to plan in advance. So it's not like in the past, when you see the problem, you take the product and you solve the problem. Now, when you see the problem, it's late. So you might lose the whole production. You might lose 50%. You might lose. So especially now with the climate changing, we are having milder winters, and this is for fungus. It is bad for insects. Because you risk definitely to get more issues. What make it possible for us is, of course, it would be impossible, honestly, almost impossible to farm organic in the flat land. Fortunately, well, first of all, our vineyards are all located on the hills of Soave, so that's make it possible. And of course, again, you have to be very good. You need to have machineries, you need technology, you need an agronomy, and you need really to plan and to work to anticipate issues. So doing organic means basically that you avoid herbicides, you avoid pesticides, and you can do that with labor, especially herbicides, because when the season starts, you have to be ready, you have to go in the vineyards, you have to cut the grass. Very often, then of course, depends on of the vintage, depends on the summer, on spring, how much is going to rain or not. Then for insects, you also adopt some other technicals. So, for example, sexual inhibitors for insects or other practices that are allowed. And in this way, also, by the way, the technology and to be professional helps. And I think for the future, things are moving definitely for everyone in that direction. And of course, bureaucracy is very complicated. That's why also, many times also, for example, the back label. I mean, we got the organic certification mainly because we trust it, and we think it's important. But at the same time, bureaucratically, it's difficult for all the markets to get the back label. Some markets work in a way, some others have other regulations. So yeah, it's challenging, but yeah, I think that today is more and more important, and we are happy, by the way, also that we started also the official part of the organic certification.
Yeah, that's fantastic, especially there. Now, you had touched a little bit earlier on the UGAs, the Unita Geographica Adjuntivas, and this was just I believe it was the 2019 vintage. These were allowed, which were 33 distinct zones that were added. Now, how has this impacted you in terms of what you're working on for the future? I know some of the vineyards would have fallen in here. Did Graziano have a role in this development of these? Is there anything, are you working on anything to explore these further in the future with some new bottlings, perhaps?
I mean, this is, it's interesting, honestly. Of course, Graziano started, with some others, with the previous cruise of Soave back in the days with the Monte Grande is our single vineyard, and it's, of course, a land that we know very well. 33 UGAs are probably a lot, actually. But at the same time, this is something that we are exploring because we today we own 37 hectares in Soave Classico. And we are lucky that we own, by the way, vineyards in 5 crews, actually, 5 UGAs. And so we are experiencing really the difference. We own pretty large plots in Ponsara, probably the main one, Frosca, Foscarino. Actually, we own mainly plots on the volcanic side of the Classico, and just one on the limestone soil, that is Monte Bissone. And we are exploring it. We are studying the ground. We are bottling. Of course, we keep when we that all the Garganega that we produce is blended, and we make the Otto. We are also making, since 3, 4, 5 years, separate vinifications, and we are retasting the wines from time to time. So it's a new thing for us, I would say. So we are excited. We are exploring this. We think, by the way, Garganega has to be the grape, of course. So we are focusing on 100% Garganega wines. And let's see in the future, honestly. One of the idea would be maybe to make like a 6-pack with the 6 different crews, 100% Garganega, Screw Cap. That would be very exciting. It's not really something you will make a business on, but it's something that, when you put them on a side and you give, also the customer the chance. Of course, this is more for specials, for people that actually are really involved into wine. But I think it's exciting, and it's something that we will further work in our future. So let's say that our investment is in this direction, but definitely also in the back vintages and in storing more of the current vintages to be able in the future to provide old Soave, that I think is really can give you also people directly and straight away the idea of how really Soave can be a great wine.
Yeah, I think that's and that's such a valid point. I think so many of us consume Italian whites in their youth, but they all seem to have such tremendous aging capacity that it'll be exciting to see that. And I look forward to exploring some of your work with the UGAs. I think it's important to note that the UGAs they're not a quality classification, but really just a classification to note the many different soils and what the different styles that are produced from these regions. So I'm excited to see your work on that, to see what you come up with for the future. I know we're getting close to the hour mark, and as you had said, we're past your dinner time. So I don't want to keep you too long.
It's past my dinner time as well. So I'm ready to close up the room. This was extraordinary time slot. But thank you so much, Rob Miller and Diego Corradi, for this lovely conversation. And I just want to remind everyone, next week we'll be back on our normal regular time slot, which is 6 p.m. with Ma Shaham, your classmate from Canada, and with Lorenzo Marotti Campi. The week after that, we'll have Stefan Metzner with Clemens Lageda. And then the week after that, Julian Farricker with Amanda Courtney. And then Ashley Howell with Pierluca Proietti of Abbianova. Then just want to take a quick shout out to Laika, our Clubhouse manager, who's been doing wonderful work. And of course, Joy Livingston, our Italian wine podcast producer. So like I said, there are many of us here tonight, but the top listens, the top ambassador corners have more than 4,000 listens. So congrats to everyone. And this will again be replayed on another date. I don't know what the programming is, but we'll get back to you with that. So thank you everybody for joining us. Ciao, Slaweg, Melissa, Elena, Kevin, Tusha, Fanny, Christina, Andrea, Paul, Cynthia, Fermented Boss, Hugh Priest, Pablo, Elena, Noel, Julie, and Mats and Ingrid. Ciao ragazzi, I'm closing up the room.
Ciao.
Buon appetito.
Listen to the Italian Wine Podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We're on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Himalaya FM, and more. Don't forget to subscribe and rate the show. If you enjoy listening, please consider donating through ItalianWinePodcast.com. Any amount helps cover equipment, production, and publication costs. Until next time, chin chin.
Hi guys, I'm Joy Livingston and I am the producer of the Italian Wine Podcast. Thank you for listening. We are the only wine podcast that has been doing a daily show since the pandemic began. This is a labor of love and we are committed to bringing you free content every day. Of course, this takes time and effort, not to mention the cost of equipment, production, and editing. We would be grateful for your donations, suggestions, requests, and ideas. For more information on how to get in touch, go to ItalianWinePodcast.com.